What's up, people? I'm back. I know I said I was gonna do the Furious, but I'm not gonna lie. I've been going through the Snyder DC films, and I want to vent a little bit. So I decided I'm gonna do the Furious later in the week. Probably gonna watch it tomorrow or Thursday. I want to vent because I think the reason we can't get a good Superman movie, and I may have made a video similar to this, but I feel like might as well make an updated version since, we had, James Gunn Superman come out last year and now we have Supergirl. So why not do an updated version of this rant? So it's really frustrating because going through Snyder's DCU and then James Gunn's DCU, it's not even close. Snyder understood how to make heroes. Superman in James Gunn's Superman was not a hero. I don't give a fuck. Oh, he saved a squirrel. Outside of that, what was heroic about him? Because Henry Cavill's Superman did what was right just because. Even if he was at his saddest, he still fundamentally helped people. You have James Gunn Superman, the Justice Gang will handle it. Cause I'm sad. And then you got you fucks who bitched about Zack Snyder's DCU. Bitched so much that we now have Viltrumite. I don't give a fuck. They have made Jarrell a legit Viltrumite in James Gunn's DCU. If you watched Invincible, you'll get the reference. Because literally, spread your seeds, son. You have people defend that bullshit, by the way. I've seen people defend that, which is insane to me. Well, it's in the comics. It's not good. Superman should be the best of both worlds, which is Krypton and Earth. There's a reason I know everyone likes to rag on Zack Snyder, but he really highlighted this in his Justice League, which I just watched the scene of. When he comes to get his suit, you have both of his dads, Jor-El and Jonathan Kent, both tell him you can do this because it is supposed to be the best of both worlds. That's always what Superman was supposed to be, even in the comics. He has to have his Kryptonian side, but James Gunn decided to go this weird route of, I guess, fuck his Kryptonian side. He's just going to be Clark all the time. When he doesn't understand. I saw someone describe this last week, and it is perfect. That Superman is almost three characters. You got Superman, and then you got Kal-El, and then you got Clark Kent, but then there's even two different Clark Kents. You got Clark Kent at the Daily Planet, and then you got Farm Boy Clark Kent. And then Kal, which is Superman, but then you just got regular Kal-El, and then you got the mix of Kal-El and Clark Kent. So Superman is multiple sides. He's not just one character, but James Gunn has basically portrayed Superman as everything as Clark. He's just Clark. He's always goofy. He's just goofy Clark every fucking time, even if he's in the fucking suit. And I blame a lot of you Snyder haters for this because this isn't even like, oh, I'm a Snyder bro. This isn't even about that. This is about, we had a Superman that was a hero that was gonna eventually be the Superman we all love, but y'all just didn't want to build. And now we're stuck with this bullshit. We now have Viltrumite fucking Jor-El. When Jor-El is such a big part of Superman. I mean, I like Smallville, but I didn't even really love questionable Jor-El in that either, to be honest with you. I think Jor-El should always be a part of Superman's brain, upbringing. I mean, even like the animated series did a really good job of. There's a scene, obviously, because in the animated series, they don't really highlight Jarrell. It's more because it's the animated series and he's on Earth. But they do acknowledge Jarrell wanting Clark to be bigger and do the right thing and be the hero that he's supposed to be. Because that's what Jarrell is. Marlon Brando in the Donner films gave one of the greatest speeches ever about him being the leader to humanity. And then, you have Russell Crowe come in there and just really show like that is what a Jarrell should be. And then you have Jonathan Kent, because you got to get Jonathan Kent right. Even in the Donner films. I mean, Jonathan Kent was a little bit more minor in those movies because he dies in the first one, but you get that inspiration from the Earth side from Jonathan Kent in that film, even though he dies really early on. You get that Earth inspiration from him to be a hero. Because ultimately both sides want him to be a hero. Even in the animated series, even though they go more for Jonathan Kent lives throughout it, he still wanted Clark to be the hero along with Cal, Jarrell. Both wanted him to be the hero. It's just they both did it in different ways. Man of Steel really highlights it. Jonathan Kent wanted him to be the hero, but it was like, you gotta take time because you're my son. I want to protect you. If the government finds out who you are, even as someone who doesn't have a kid, it's understandable why he went the route he went. But then you fucks defend, not all, but some of you fuckers defend fucking Jonathan Kent being a fucking retarded hick, basically. No offense, but that's what he was. You wrote him as a retarded hick who was emotional, who really had no inspirational scene. Like the one scene that was in the trailers where you saw him and Clark talk. That could have been a really good fucking scene. But then you ruin it with shitty James Gunn humor. And then Ma Kent, who I've always felt like should be sort of treated like Aunt May, where if you do the story where Jonathan Kent's not alive and Aunt May, and Ma Kent's still alive, you should have that Aunt May relationship kind of like similar to that, where outside of Lois she should be like Clark's rock. And you don't do that in this movie. You don't even in Superman 25. They don't even really highlight his relationship with his parents really that much if you think about it. Outside of a couple of quick scenes, but it's all done for humor. Whereas you see Diane Lane, even Ma Kent in the original films, you get even in Superman Returns when Ma Kent is in the movie, she's not in it a lot, but you get a couple of scenes with her in it. You get more of that relationship even in that. It's like you don't get none of that, but Superman, I think, has become, I'm gonna say it, I think there's people out there. I love Christopher Reeve Superman as much as the next person, but I feel like they look at Superman not as a character. They look at him as a mascot, and they want him to be the mascot they want. And that's why I think this movie fooled a lot of people. It's almost like The Force Awakens. But I think that is breaking now. I feel like now that Supergirl came out, I really think that it's starting to, the people who like the film anyway, I think it's starting to really rattle people's cages like, oh, no, this was never good. But it's like, you don't get none of the, like, all the classic Superman tropes in it at all. And it made it seem like you did because, oh, well, it's Hope Core and punk rock and all this bullshit. No. This movie, Superman 25, really encapsulates why I feel like people really ruined. And it's not even about like being a sour grape Snyder, bro. It's I'm a Superman fan at heart, and I feel like I'm. I knew this, but it really highlighted this. I feel like there are people who really wanted to like this movie because it's quote unquote the closest to Donner's. I think there are people who only like Superman because of Christopher Reeve. They almost only like Christopher Reeve Superman and don't actually like the character of Superman. And I'm really starting to really think that. Like that there are people out there that are just only like Superman because of Christopher Reeve, which is nothing wrong with that. But I almost question, do you like the character of Superman? Because I don't see this with Batman as much. Because even with the theme, you want to know what hurt Superman 25? It didn't have a distinct theme. You know, I'll give Superman Returns a pass because as bad as it was in the Donner timeline, so it makes sense why it would have the John Williams score as the theme. So I'm going to give that a pass. But why is Batman, Spider Man, all these characters are allowed, who have had multiple movies, they're allowed to have multiple themes. Like, I mean, to me, if you ask me with Batman, Danny Elfman's Batman theme mixed with like the animated series, that is the definitive Batman theme all around. Which the animated series theme came from the Danny Elfman theme. But Christopher Nolan understood, okay, we're doing a different Batman. So we gotta, okay, let's bring in Hans Zimmer. And as much as I don't even like the fucking Batman by Matt Reeves, he had a distinct theme. Even Zack Snyder for Ben Affleck's Batman with the Beautiful Lie had a distinct theme. Every iteration of live action iteration of Batman had their own distinct fucking theme song. But for whatever reason, Superman isn't allowed the same theme. And I mean, I have friends who I argue with this about. And I'm not saying they're wrong, but I just feel like the arguments I've heard is like, oh, James Bond, Star Wars, Jurassic Park. It's like that where the theme. But people need to realize with Jurassic Park, Star Wars, and all those other franchises, and James Bond, even though James Bond is different actors, ultimately it's still the same character. So it's all the same timeline. So, of course, yeah, you have the same thing because Star Wars is the same timeline. Even James Bond, even though it's different actors, largely it's the same character going through all these adventures. So, it's not necessarily a different timeline. It's just the same character doing different adventures, just with different actors. But Superman, you have all, if you know DC, you have the multiverse. So, it's weird, right? With Batman and even Spider Man, they treat it like the multiverse. Spider Man, the the Raimi theme to me is the definitive Spider Man theme outside of the na na na, like the Spider Man song. Like outside of that, like I think that the Raimi theme is like the definitive Spider Man theme. But the Andrew Garfield movies had their own theme, and then even the MCU one, which is more like a remix of the classic Spider Man theme. Um, was it still was its somewhat own. They each iteration had their own little theme. But for whatever reason, Superman is not allowed that. He has to have the Donner theme, which is unfortunate because the Man of Steel score is incredible. Watching Man of Steel again earlier, the score is fucking iconic. It's arguably one of the best scores of all time. I actually prefer the Man of Steel Hans Zimmer score than even the Batman one. And I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but I do. And I just hate that that's disregarded because it's not the Donner theme or even the animated series theme. I like that theme too. So, if by this same logic, should the animated series theme have just been the Donner theme? Like, I just feel like Superman is treated like a mascot by a lot of these people. They don't treat him as an actual character. Because the arguments I have heard against Henry Cavill's Superman are just all bad. Oh, he's like a cop, which is the dumbest shit ever. Because he still saves the world. Oh, but he's not smiling. But then you get the Superman 25 when the Justice Gang are fighting a monster. Superman is just sad and mopey because the whole video came out. Instead of helping the Justice Gang, because Havel Superman, even when he was sad, still did the right thing and helped people. Versus, like, this Superman, oh, they'll handle it. No iteration of Superman would do that if you actually did Superman right. But people will excuse it because, well, it's not Snyder. Or it's almost like Reeve. Man. Because Superman is a character. He's allowed to have emotions. But some of these people, it's like they don't want Superman to have that. They just want him to be Christopher Reeve, save cats off trees, and then and then that's it. And it's like nothing wrong with saving cats off trees, but even in the animated series, there's a moment where Darkseid, this is a Justice League, the Justice League cartoon, wants help from the Justice League to, I'll spoil it, it's revealed to be a trap, but before they know that, Darkseid is being attacked by Brainiac, and he wants to help in the Justice League, and Superman refuses. And that is a moment that is arguably, if you're really, let's say you're nitpicking like the Snyder movies, you would say that's un-Superman like. But the reality was, Darkseid and Apocalypse is a terrible place. Why would you want to help them? Right? Like, but even in that, they showed Superman being a complex character and making him being like, yeah, I'm Superman, but I don't need to help these people. These people are terrible. Like Apocalypse, he saw it. There's a moment in that show, like in this is the Superman show, where the last time he faced Darkseid, he beat Darkseid up, and he had a chance. The people had a chance to escape. He even gave a chance for these people to escape, and they still helped Darkseid. So he basically, I think at that moment, accepted that, yeah, the people in Apocalypse just want to be oppressed. And you could argue that's quote-unquote un-Superman like, but they showed Superman was a complex character. And I think, why are we scared to show Superman being a complex character? Because they always use the, oh, nobody's good in this world, even though Superman showed he was good in this world later in the movie. But whatever. Oh, the destruction, even though if you read comics, I mean, if you like Death of Superman, the entire almost United States, because arguably the comic goes through the entire United States. It's not just Metropolis. It's multiple cities. There's even a portion where they fight the Justice League where cities get fucked up. That's just a thing in comics. You don't think about it in comics because it's a comic book or when you're watching the animated series because it's a cartoon. But when it's live action, yeah, you're going to think about it more. The destruction, because people are actually dying. In a cartoon, you're not thinking about it because they're not necessarily animating the cartoon. The building, when they throw people through buildings in a cartoon, it looks empty. But in a movie, you know it's not empty. But that's just the reality. Comic, like, that's just how it is. Like, why is it okay for the Avengers movie for all of this destruction? But, oh, they gotta try to save you. Superman saves people, even in Man of Steel. Like, I'm sorry, all the arguments I hear against Man of Steel, oh, it's too gritty. It is not gritty at all. Man of Steel, even visually, is very bright. Very hopeful. And the fact that I think it's way more hopeful than Superman, James Gunn Superman. If I'm keeping it real. Like, it's way more hopeful. There's far more heroism because I think Zack at least understands hero. I mean, he even showed it with like Leonidas in 300. Even in Watchmen, which is a little bit of a darker film, there's still heroism in that movie. I think Zack understands heroism. I don't think James Gunn does. I don't. I think if he gets heroism, it's in his own little weird way. I don't think he understands aspirational heroes in the traditional sense. Like Batman, Superman. I don't think James Gunn gets Batman either. I've always felt like he was the wrong pick for these characters. If he wants to be in his own little corner where he does these weird side B characters, cool. But I don't think he gets Batman and Superman, your traditional. I'm going to say even Wonder Woman. I don't think he gets Wonder Woman either. Because she is aspirational just like Superman is. And I don't think he gets that aspect at all. Or wants to get it. I think he wants to do his little quirky characters, and that's it. Like the fact that even with Supergirl, he made her this drunk bitch. Which, even in the comic, as bad as that comic is, she's not even a drunk in it that long. That's like a small part of the comic, if we're being real. But he exasperates it because that's all Gunn can do, because he wants to make everything a joke. He is not the right guy for heroes like in DC who are far more aspirational, outside of your little quirky B side characters. But a majority of DC, even like the Lanterns, Green Lanterns, all have that aspirational hero. Even Batman. I hate that Batman, to some people, gets treated as this like anti-hero, but no, he has the same aspirations as Superman. It's just he does it differently, but he has that same hero aspiration like Superman. Fundamentally, it's just done differently. And I don't think Gunn gets that. He doesn't get the little nuances, but fundamentally, Superman and Batman have the same aspirations. It's just done differently. I don't think Gunn gets that. And I think he was always the wrong guy for the job. And it's not about Snyder. I mean, just get somebody in there that actually understands these characters. Or at least get an exec who can hire a guy who can understand these said characters. That's all I ask. Because, I'm sorry, rewatching the Snyder films, he understood at least the aspirational aspect of these characters. Yeah, he may have did it differently, but I feel like Snyder at least fundamentally understood that Superman was an aspirational character. Because, I mean, he brought Batman out of the light in his DCEU. You didn't get anything like that in James Gunn DCU so far. I don't even think Superman is really aspirational. Yeah, Superman who gets sad and then he wants to give up immediately and then delegate the heroism to other people. That's not Superman. I don't care. No iteration of Superman, even Brandon Routh, even sad, would be like, yeah, I'll let the other guys handle it. No. They'll be like, no, I'm Superman. I'm going to handle it. Even if they're trying to handle it. I'm still going to go out there and be Superman, even if I'm fucking sad. Because that's fucking Superman. But you fucks don't understand it. Because I think some of you people just want a clone of Donner's Superman, and that's all you want. And that's what I feel like Superman needs to evolve. And I think that's what this video fundamentally is getting to. That you people need to let Superman evolve as a character a little bit. And not... Because even in the comics, he is not even by the time some of the later Donner films came out. Or not Donner films, but the Christopher Reeve Superman movies came out. Like the later ones. Superman had already kind of moved on from that iteration, how he's depicted. Because a lot of that Superman is more from the 70s. Whereas by the 80s, he moved on from that, and they were actually trying to do more meaningful stories. I don't I can't find where the interview is now, but I remember Christopher Reeve even said he wanted to do more deeper storylines with his iteration of Superman than what they were giving him. So it's like, I feel like Superman needed to evolve as a character, and you guys, we had a chance with it, with what Snyder was doing, but then you guys complained about it because it wasn't Christopher Reeve, and I think ultimately you guys just want Christopher Reeve again, and that's all you want. And it worries me because it's like, Superman isn't just Christopher Reeve. He is an actual character from the comics who has storylines and arcs. That is it. Nothing wrong with liking Christopher Reeve's Superman. It's the fact that I feel like Superman should be more than just those movies. So, but that's all I wanted to say here. I didn't want to make this video too long. Tomorrow we should be going live for Dynamite. And yeah, I've been down. So, other than that, I'll talk to y'all tomorrow.